everybody, it's me Suzette from the Food Indy kitchen. Today we are going to be making tomato sauce from scratch. Here's one of my favorite things to do when I go to the grocery store. You know how every grocery store has a section where they have fruit that is maybe starting to have some bruising on it? Like you can usually get bananas from there or other things. Well, at my local produce store, they put out all kinds of fruits and vegetables, and this time they had a whole bag of tomatoes for $2.98. We eat a lot of tomato-based foods in our house, whether it's Haitian chicken or pasta, we're always using tomatoes. So I'm going to take these tomatoes, wash them, cut them up, blend some of them. I'm gonna make some tomato sauce, but also I think I'm gonna just make a pureed tomato so that we can use it for other things in the future. So let's get into it. I actually need to see how many tomatoes I have. I mean, I see the number that I have here, but let's just see what it adds up to after I've cut them. I'm going to peel them by steaming them a little bit. I'll show you how I do that. And then let's see what we can make out of all these tomatoes. Another thing that I got are these huge onions. I'm gonna cut these up and pickle them and also freeze some of them for future use.
So by now, y'all know that I do not have a fancy kitchen. And I don't have a bunch of fancy equipment, and most of the things that I use in my kitchen were my mama's. This green Tupperware was the same one that I used when I was 4 years old to wash vegetables for my mom, and that was almost 50 years ago. I have some really fun episodes about my mom and I in the kitchen over on the Food Indy podcast. If you haven't heard them, head on over to the podcast, befoodindy.com/podcast. You can find it also on Apple and Spotify. But my mom was the main influence for how to have a low-waste kitchen. She was the one who taught me to go to that section in the grocery store where you can find bananas and tomatoes and spices that maybe people didn't want because they didn't look as good as they were when they were super fresh. But that food is still good food. You wouldn't want somebody to hate on you when you had a bruise on you, right? Don't hate on things just because they got a bruise. What I love about these tomatoes is that they are heirloom tomatoes and they have lots of seeds. Heirloom plants are the ones that have seeds that will regrow. So before I do anything, I'm going to take some of the seeds out of these tomatoes so that I can plant them next spring. When I picked up this bag, I didn't even know that there were so many beautiful tomatoes in here. Look at this green heirloom tomato. And then there's this other big old fat heirloom tomato. Look at that. All of these tomatoes fresh in a salad would be fabulous. Okay, onto the onions real quick. I'm just going to cut these up just because I'm going to use them in the sauce. I have a whole other video about how I'm going to pickle the onions, so you can check that out over on my YouTube channel. Oh, look, this onion has 2 parts to it, which means 2 bulbs, which means we can grow 2 onion plants from it. I've also got some other fun videos that I'm making about how I reuse the peels from the onion. You're going to want to check that out too. I will drop the link in the description in the YouTube video so that you can have easy access. Remember, every single onion has roots on the bottom, so if you want to replant them, you can just pop them in the ground and they will regrow an onion plant. The link to how to do that is also going to be in the description. Hold on to those onion peels. Do not throw them away. I'll tell you why later. All right, so back to the tomatoes. Before steaming them, I'm going to cut them in an X shape across the bottom. It's called scoring. So each of the tomatoes is going to get scored across the bottom to make it easier to peel after we steam them. When you peel the tomatoes, you have less of a gritty kind of texture in the tomato sauce, but you can leave them on because I sometimes don't even do this process. But because I have so many tomatoes, I'm going to score each of them so that I can take off the peel. And in the meantime, yes, we are collecting seeds too so that we can replant these seeds in the springtime and get these same potatoes to grow. If there's one thing I'm super passionate about, it's seed saving. The other is composting, but that's for another video too. Seed saving is one of those things that I highly recommend for anybody because no matter what, you can grow food.
It's a beautiful tomato. I'm going to see if I can get more of these next year. It's so big and juicy, and it's going to become sauce right now, but fresh, this tomato would be fabulous in a salad. So I'm going to see if I can grow some more next year.
Look at all these seeds. Each one will grow its own tomato plant. I'm going to just put these aside so I can strain them out later after I have done the tomato sauce. This is what the tomatoes look like after they've been peeled. Sorry, y'all, I forgot to hit record to show you the process. Here are those basil pops I made last week, and we're going to use this to season our tomato sauce.
I got the idea of making homemade tomato sauce from one of my editors who said it was super simple, and so I decided I'm going to try it myself. Shout out to Adrian Davis for giving me the idea of making homemade pasta sauce.
All right, so let's get started with the tomato sauce. I'm putting about a tablespoon of olive oil in the bottom of the pan. Let that get nice and hot, then add the onions. I'm adding a little bit of lemon thyme from the garden. This came from last year's crop, and I just had it in the freezer too. I use my freezer for everything, y'all. Ooh, I wish you could smell this. It smells so good. Fresh herbs grown in the garden are one of my favorite things about cooking because they have such a complex flavor and they taste so good in anything you're cooking. Okay, I'm about to drop in one of these basil pops. Boom. Fresh herbs are not only tastier, but they're also healing. So choose fresh herbs more than you choose seasoned salts, all right? Oops, there's a whole tomato still in here. Let me try to break this down. Look at this beautiful sauce. It's not even done yet and it's looking good. This is what it looks like after about 30 minutes on the stove on medium heat. I'm going to keep it here for a couple more hours, cooking it on low because then all the flavors can mix together. So this is where you go low and slow. I tasted it and I want a little more basil taste, so I'm dropping in another basil pop. Bring it back up to a boil and stir a little bit and let it cook. So I'm going to just let it do its thing. Now that it's boiling, I'm going to turn down the heat and then let this marinate. Look what you got me making. Fresh tomato sauce. Adding just a little bit of Himalayan salt for flavor. Mix that in. Last summer, my girl Tanya gave me a bunch of lemons from her tree, so I took the lemon peels and dried them for recipes just like this. Another healing plant.
To learn more about how to have a zero waste kitchen, sign up for my newsletter. I've got all kinds of tips and tricks that come every month in my newsletter about how to reduce waste in your kitchen. There are recipes, gardening tips, all kinds of things in the Food Indy newsletter. You can find it at bfoodindy.com, linked right here. I wish you could smell this. It smells so good.